Alright, today we're going to change out the rear struts, lower control arm, drum brakes, the whole nine. If you want to hang out with me, unfortunately TikTok took my volume away, so I'm going to give you some commentary here. Basically right now we're removing the rear suspension on a 2006 Nissan Sentra. I'm using my OneVan 1100, or actually it's like 1200 foot-pounds of torque impact wrench. Got for about 60 bucks on Temu. It's worked really well. Hadn't had any issues yet other than trying to get a lower control arm suspension bolt. I had one problem with just the driver's side, but I ended up working through it somehow. Right now I'm installing the new suspension that I got from eBay. I got 2 rear suspension coils, the whole little setup you see in my hand, for 80 bucks. I believe that's what it was for both of them. Not a bad deal. So that suspension's been the same one since 2007 or 2006, because it's never been changed. I'm just now starting to replace everything at 250,000 miles. That's how good a car this was. By far one of the best ones I've ever owned. Right here I'm trying to get this damn carter pin to come out. That's one of the hardest parts of these jobs. If you put too thick of a carter pin in there, you'll have to cut it out. Here's the holes that were in question. As you can see, this bolt I have is not quite big enough, and it just slides right in and out like a hot dog going down a hallway. So that's definitely not going to work. And here's my shoes. As you can see, there's a lot of tread that's still on there, and I couldn't believe it. But what I was hearing was this bad cylinder, because this disc was barely hanging on by a thread. I mean, it came right off. No issues whatsoever. So I got to do my first drum brake. And as you can see, look at the boot on that strut. I mean, it is just destroyed. Believe it or not, it never made any noise, and it still had a very good bounce to it. It wasn't going up and down really easily. The only shock that was really shot out was the front one. And since I've replaced all 4 now, it's riding like a dream. Alright, now I'm spraying on some PB Blast to remove some of these stubborn bolts that are not going to want to come out, because I'm going to have to disconnect the brake line and bleed and redo all 4 brakes just by changing out the cylinder on the drum, because I got new cylinders, new springs, all new parts in there now, which I'll show you here in a second. Alright, here's a good look at all the corrosion. I mean, that's just nasty in there. Look at that. So gross. I'm going to dissect this whole thing and clean it all up and put it back together, put some anti-seize on the drum sides, all the contact points, and try to figure out where these springs all go. Right now I'm just trying to clean all that nasty crap off there, as you can see. I speeded up the video here a little bit because now I am disconnecting the rear brake line, and so I could get the rest of these shoes off and clean this drum up like it's supposed to be cleaned. Alright, we finally got that off. Now I can swap those out. There's the bolt for the strut. It just sits right there. It's very easily to do yourself. It's not very hard. As you can see, it's just the one bolt connected to the 2 up top. So 3 bolts totally. You could swap out your rear strut on this car. Here's a good look at my old parts and the new ones that are going to replace with. And this is a good look at the springs and that little horseshoe spring that's holding the back of the emergency brake together. Is probably one of the hardest horseshoe pins I've ever had to take off, which I'll show you here in a second. But right now I'm doing close-up so I can see exactly how these springs go back. Notice how the emergency brake is connected to the back of the drum, which I put it on the front. That's probably why I had such a hard time putting the drum back on. But you live and you learn. This is my first time doing this. As you can see, I've already chipped a piece of this horseshoe pin off, and it's about 1 millimeter thick steel. I'm trying to pinch it closed with just a small pair of needle nose pliers. Unfortunately, I mean this job right here will make you quit. This was not easy whatsoever. But finally I managed to get it on there with a punch and this needle nose pliers, as you can see. I'm trying to close it now because I've already taken it off and did what I had to do. And I've now successfully closed the horseshoe clamp on the new pad, and we're about to go back and install it. Stay tuned. I'm about to show you a good look on what it looks like now that I've put everything back together, so I can have some reference of what it's supposed to look like when it's done completely. As you see, we got the new shoes, so you can see how much more thicker they are. Alright, now we're going to try to put this back together the way I took it off. And also, I'm adding this high temperature anti-seize that I've got off Amazon. It was like less than $6, and you want to put that on all your contact points. And once you load in this spring, which all you have to do is turn it 90 degrees. I'm going to show you a close-up here in a second, but literally you could do it with one hand holding the pin in the back and just push that spring in and turn it 90 degrees, you're good to go. But I went ahead and used my tool I got off Amazon. It really did not fit whatsoever, but eventually I made it work. There you go. Now it's 90 degrees, so it's going to stay in there flush. Notice that spring is on the front. That spring should be behind the drum. So that is absolutely the wrong way to do this. Even though I still made it work and it worked successfully this way, it still probably has put too much strain on that emergency brake cord. So for reference, that goes behind the drum, not in front. Again, this is my first time doing this by myself with no training whatsoever other than watching some YouTube videos. So thanks for hanging in there with me. As you can see, we got the new cylinder, we got the new spring attached, and that top spring was no fun whatsoever trying to get that in there. Let's see. Now we're going to do we have the bottom spring on already. As you can see, look, that's 90 degrees. See, that's all you got to do is turn that pin 90 degrees, and that's what keeps it flush. Very easy. And putting back in the strut is the easiest part of the job. There you go. It's already put back in there, tightened down. We got the new drum ready to go. Now we can go see how it drives with the new suspension. And then we got to bleed the brakes, which we'll have to do all 4 tires for that. Anytime you take off a brake cylinder or change your brakes and you have to open up a bleed valve, you're going to have to let that air out. Otherwise, you can compromise your brake system. Your braking system can get compromised with any air bubbles in there. So you want to make sure they're bled perfectly and there's no more air bubbles. You want pure brake fluid coming out when the bleeder valve is open. That allow all the air out, then close it, then let off the brake, and just repeat the process until you see no more bubbles. Once you got all the bubbles out, push the brake all the way down, release the bleeder screw, make sure there's no air coming out, and once you see a a steady stream of brake fluid, you're going to tighten the bleeder screw and slowly let the brake pedal out, and you should have a very solid brake system after that. All right, we're going to add the drum on, and thanks for watching. Let's go see how she drives. Drives absolutely perfect. Don't even need an alignment. How about that?